Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Carla from Rehan Allawala's World of Connection, and we are trying this again. Hopefully, Eugina will be able to keep her connection this time without a lot of breaking. If that happens again, we'll just reschedule because she's a cool person and you guys should learn about her. In any case, the show is sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which is an online organization promoting peace one conversation at a time. Holy Eugenia, sorry. Can you
It's fine.
please introduce yourself now?
Sure. Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for having me here. And pardon the technical difficulties. And yet, we still made it here, and hopefully, we will be able to keep the connection this time. Once again, my name is Eugina O Liberty, and I'm an international pleasure and intimacy coach. I am. I'm supporting singles in becoming confident at dating by unleashing their true desires and creating more love, more pleasure, and intimacy in their life. And my name is Eugina O Liberty, is the name of my company. And Liberty is because I'm supporting people in liberating themselves from the limits they put on themselves. And actually, I'm no stranger to this. I used to live in my own limiting world of not being able to have what I want or receive what I want or even want what I want, because since very young age I've been taught, don't ask for too much, don't be too much, be like everybody else, and it never made sense to me. So I've been living very unhappy life. And actually, I always been wanting like a fairy tale. I always wanted more than everybody else. And I always been called a dreamer by my parents, by people in school. And I always been different, or actually I felt different to everybody else. And today I can honestly say that I dreamt my life into reality, despite everything being told that it's like, oh, you're a dreamer, you have your head in the clouds and things like that. And yes, I am a dreamer. I'm proudly can say that today. And in fact, I want to encourage people to dream more, because everything begins with your thoughts. So, and once you create the thought, what you can dream, you can create into your reality. And I'm a strong believer in that. And what I do in my work, I actually give people tools on how they can remove obstacles that get in the way of their deepest dreams and desires. So, a little bit about myself is that my life not always looked like this. I'm a girl from Latvia, from a very small town, from a family of parents alcoholics, where violence and physical and emotional abuse was everyday reality. And coming back from school, I didn't know whether my parents gonna be drunk and fight, or whether they're gonna be peace and calm. And it's like, very often when I would come back home from school, there was no food for me, and it was actually quite a tough upbringing. So I had to grow up very quickly as a child. And I kept dreaming. And when I turned 18, 19, I've been working already. At 20, at the age of 20, I got married, because I've been taught to believe that woman's value is to become a mother and be married. And it's like, unless she is married and has kids, woman has no value. And I got married, and in fact, my marriage lasted for 3 months, because very soon after I got married, I recreated my parents' relationships in my marriage. So there was alcohol involved, there was fighting involved, and emotional and physical abuse. So I've been so at this time I already moved to London from Latvia, and I didn't know what to do, so I could run. Like literally, my husband incapsulated me in our apartment, and somehow I managed to escape after 3 days, like completely beaten blue, having my bag with me, anything that I could take with me, and I just left. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what is waiting next for me. I just had an objective to escape this. And I did escape this, and I, like, luckily, I'm very friendly and I make friends easily. So my friends actually invited me to stay with them and bring myself together and start from fresh. So, but that didn't finish there, because like every relationship after that have been somewhat abusive. And I could, at one point, like I remember 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I am waking up and I'm thinking to myself, all of my relationships are somewhat the same. Like I fall in love, I open my heart, and all I see is abuse and hurt afterwards. Surely this is not love. And at that point I was like, surely it's not them, it must be me who's creating all of this, because like it is impossible for every single person to be the same person in a different body, and for me to have a different, like, same experience with every single love story I have. And I started looking more into that. So I started looking more into myself and what actually creates in this kind of love relationships, that is hate relationships, and I started realizing that actually my childhood and my upbringing have been playing a massive role in how I perceive life, how I perceive relationships, and what old wounds that I have, that I could never express myself because I believe that I'm not important. So I would hold on to all the grudges that I would experience throughout my relationship. And I would be very patient, very patient, not saying too much, not saying too little, because like a decent woman shouldn't, right? And it's like I have been feeling this way. And until I couldn't hold anymore, I would explode and I leave. So now, now for almost 4 years, I am supporting many women from all over the world actually to remove their old patterns of their relationships, to start actually paying attention to what is important to them, what are their desires, because very often I find that people, and myself in the past, been projected on what they should want by society. Like you have to go to university, you have to get a decent job, you have to buy a house, get a mortgage, have kids, get married. It's like not exactly in this order, but nevertheless, this is kind of expectations of the society from you. And for me, it never made sense, because I love to explore life. I love to explore the world. I love to see what is going on in the world, and it's like not necessarily for me, all of those values and expectations have been reasonable, because some, like, I have attained all of that, like I got a decent job, like in corporate, in a global law firm. I traveled the world. I've been in long-term relationships that didn't feel fulfilling for me. I was having like what's on the paper meant to be the ticking all the boxes, but in fact inside of myself I have been empty, and something was missing, and something really important was missing. It's like I was kind of doing all of that, but my interest never lasted too long. So I started when I started paying attention to how I'm feeling inside and what do I actually want, I have realized that these are not the things that I actually want. What I want is a freedom of choice. What I want is ability to travel the world. What I want is freedom. Because another thing that working in corporate world, I had to apply for my annual leave to live my life when it's convenient for my boss. And it never made sense to me, coming back to work, for example, on Monday and people complaining to me, oh, but it's Monday. Yeah, it's 5 more days until Friday. So people are waiting, and dreading every single day until Friday so they can go and live their life. And it never made sense to me. So I had like a really strong calling to leave my job and just go off and do something to create a positive change in the world, like to stand for what I believe in. And very close thing to my heart is love, of course. Everyone wants love, everyone wants to be loved, and everyone wants to experience love. But so many people are scared of that.
Yeah.
And for me it's very important to bring the essence of love and connection into this world, because I believe that love always wins, that when two people or more love each other, that there is no judgment, there is no hate, there is no there is no war. And what happens, for me, uh, I take this as my personal responsibility to be the change I want to see in the world. So it's like the more I help myself to uncover what gets in the way of love, the more I can support my clients in this space. And I can tell you, my clients, I had such a vast variety of people that I worked with over the years. And so many are scared of loneliness. Like one of my favorite stories is this client of mine came to me and he said, Eugina, I have a deep fear of dying alone. Deep fear of dying alone. I'm in a dark place. And he was deeply depressed at that time, and he was recovering alcoholic and been single for 8 years, and really like looking for love and wanting to create a family from the bottom of his heart. Yet he had like a very deep fear of how he can talk to women. He's terrified of women. I mean, how can, so on one hand, you have this like incredible desire to create a family. And on the other hand, you can't even bring yourself to speak to a woman. That's like, quite a big, shift has to happen. So after working, like we worked together in total for 9 months. And after 7 months, he actually met a woman of his dreams, and now they bought a house together and they plan in their future together. And this kind of success stories, they just melt my heart, when people are open and honest about what they really want, what they truly desire, because so many people, we are so busy to look good and avoid looking bad, in terms of like my favorite personal thing was like, I'm an independent woman, I can do anything by myself. And it's like I kind of rule everyone out, and I will build a big wall around myself, not allowing people in to come in and be part of my life, to be like able to connect with me, support me, encourage me, admire me, sometimes even judge me. So I would not be available for that. And that itself, I would isolate myself when all I want in my life was love and connection. And there are so many people like that.
How did you change from isolation to connection? What made
Well,
that change happen?
um, what actually happened was my father passed away 4 years ago. And what happened was I didn't feel anything. I was numb. My body was numb. My mind was numb. My emotions were numb. I didn't feel anything. People at work would come and say to me, it's like, oh, Eugina, I'm so sorry for what happened. Um, please accept my condolences. And I'll be like, okay, thanks. And it would just like, I wouldn't feel anything. It was bizarre. And I was like, at this time, I was, oh my God, just let me think. Surely I should feel something. It's my parent just passed away and I didn't feel anything. How is this possible? Is this true? So what happened then? A month later, exactly on the same day, he passed away on the 29th of December. On the 29th of January, I just broke down completely hysterical. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop like wailing at my pain. And it was such a deep, painful experience. And it brought all of the memories of my childhood for me. And it was, I believe that it has been my spiritual awakening in that moment, because it was something completely uncontrollable and raw and tender, and and I was able to feel. I was able to feel for the first time ever, maybe. Like I was able to feel the pain of my emotions. I was able to feel the sorrow. I was able to feel the love, like all of that in one go. And it has been really, really overwhelming for me. So back to your question, how did I was able to shift? It was a process. It was really long process in terms of that. I didn't know what to do with all of this. I was just like kind of slapped in the face with all of these emotions. And I started looking around, what can I do, and when you, like, as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes.
So, so I started looking for the ways, or like really explore this thing, how can I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I was looking for something to make me feel better. Basically, I didn't know what was it. I just knew that if there is this pain, there must be a way for me to release this pain. There must be a way for me to feel better. And I was like really committed to find a way to feel better, because I was not going to stay in this dark place where I was. It was just excruciating. So I found some courses, I attended some courses, and in fact, they have helped me a lot. It's like over the sudden, my relationships with my mother have improved from not being able to like talk to her, in a to have a decent conversation with her. It was not available to me before, because every time I would be connecting with my mother, I'd be triggered back to my childhood, and I would somehow become a little child. And it was very bizarre. And so I started healing relationship with my parents. I started actually having more quality relationship with my friends and my lovers. I had a really deep beliefs that men out there want to hurt me. And in fact, that there is only their intention, because men in my life were hurting me, like starting from my father, the first man in my life was hurting me. Then every man after him was hurting me, or at least I perceived it that way. Like every single boyfriend was upsetting me, breaking my heart, and something was happening. So actually creating a different response, because as I've learned now that we create a belief system 0 to 10 years old. And then when we created this belief system, what happens is we go into the world and we look for evidence of those beliefs. So if I believe that all men are going to hurt me, I'm going to be choosing those men exactly that are going to fulfill my belief. So they are going to hurt me. So I get to say, you see, I'm right. I'm right. Like all men want to hurt me. And this is what happens. So I was creating more of those experiences for myself. So when I've been able to change my belief system and what is creating my reality, my life completely shifted. It's like men in my life are very attentive, very supportive, very, caring. My friends are very supportive, very caring. I started living my life based on my desire and based on what I want in my life. Like I started traveling the world. Soon I left my corporate job and I started my business, helping people exactly what I needed the help with. Because understanding how open in my heart and become emotionally available, because what also the other thing that I was emotionally unavailable, but I was always blaming other people, in that it's like, oh, no, he's emotionally unavailable and I'm just like here all available, which was absolutely not true. That I was emotionally unavailable because I was so busy guarding myself. What if people gonna hurt me? Where the next hit gonna come from? So it's like kind of a warrior princess always on guard. So, and you cannot make a connection with a person like that, because there is always like some degree of apprehensiveness. It's like I'm gonna let you in, but just a little bit. So it's like, because there's always need to be in control. What if this happens? What if that happens? That there's always like a risk assessment going on.
But how did you change your mind to be more open? What was it that made that shift?
It was one step at the time, because everything that I have tried before didn't work, right? It didn't bring me happiness or fulfillment. So when I started taking the courses and learning about human connection, relationships, I've been invited to have conversations with people from my heart. And when I started having conversations with people from my heart and really be open and honest about how I feel and what I'm experiencing, which has been like absolutely terrifying for me before. It's like, God forbid I would say what I really want or don't want. It's like, this was never, ever an option for me. I would rather disconnect from people. So when I tried to speak how I really feel and what is really going on in my heart, like people started responding to me in a way that it was like, oh my God, for the first time I feel like I am free, that I don't have to pretend, to be somebody who I'm not, like strong, independent woman, for example, that I can actually open my heart and tell you how, how it hurts me to see, people suffering or choosing suffering. I can be honest and say how, like, this relationship broke my heart. And another thing was, when I was healing my relationships, because all of my exes, I kind of cut them out of my life, right? It's like I just cut them out. It's like, I'm never going to see you again. You're past. I'm ready for the future and all of that. So when I was healing myself, I picked up the phone and I called every single of my exes to ask for forgiveness. Even though that, in my opinion, I've been the victim, but then I have realized I have played my part in that. It can't be all them. It was my part in there too. Somehow I created this in my life. So I have to take responsibility for my part in that, and every single person that like every single of my ex that I have rung to, they have been really loving and accepting. But then I remember I rang everybody apart from my ex-husband, because it was way too wild. And then I remember I was listening to one audiobook, and the audiobook said, is like, oh, if you have hatred in your heart, you you are taken away from this, from yourself being able to experience love. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's so good I don't have a hatred in my heart. And then the audiobook says, if you don't feel anything, that's still hatred. If you like thinking that you're numbing this emotion, or is like you completely don't feel anything, it's still a hatred. And I'm like, in that moment, I was like, damn it, I just have to call my ex-husband now. So imagine, after 13 years, we haven't spoken in 13 years. Immediately, I found him on Facebook. I've contacted him and we arranged the call. And when I called him, he's like, Eugina, why are you calling me now after 13 years? I'm like, listen, we separated. It was really crazy. We just like walked opposite ways, pretending that nothing has ever happened. And in fact, we've been married. We intended to have a family together, and like circumstances created that it didn't happen. But it's like, nevertheless, I wanted to say sorry for my part in this relationship and for like everything that has happened. And I want me to be happy, I want you to be happy, and I want us to be on the same page. And I can tell you, it didn't hit the spot exactly, but it was the first step of our forgiveness, because I find that forgiveness and gratitude are massive factors in creating the life that you love and desire. Because for as long as you hold the grudges towards people in your past, you are too busy spending your energy on those kind of intense emotions, when you can be focusing on something to create love in your life and more love in your life.
You find that there is a lot more love in your life now than there was when you were younger.
You know, there is. And what is main difference is that right now I am available for that love. I'm available to experience that love. And in fact, love starts within. Love starts with us. Love starts with self-love, self-respect, and honoring myself. This is the first place of love. And all other people are just going to show me how much I love myself or not. how much I respect myself or not. Because I can tell you, as soon as I have improved my relationships with myself, people around me showed me that immediately. I mean, there is no toxic people in my life anymore as there used to be. There is no more people who are trying to take advantage of me as there used to be. So of course, every so often there is a reality check. Is like, hey, Eugina, pay attention. What does your intuition says? What is going on? You know, it's like, is this good for you? Is this not good for you? You know, because like it's again, trust in yourself is the main factor, you know, in having a healthy relationship with yourself and loving relationship with yourself. Because even working with so many people around the world, one of the main issues is, can I trust myself?
Yeah.
Can I trust judgment of the character, my judgment of the character? It's like I have made so many mistakes in the past. It's like, how can I trust myself to choose, you know, a decent person to be with? But when you trust yourself and when you trust your instincts, it's not an issue.
I'm dealing with that now, learning to trust myself and not worry about others.
Yeah, yeah, because we always looking for validation from others, or like some sort of approval from others. And sometimes other people's approval or even values are not in line with ours.
Well, we've been told that all our life we wanted our parents' approval. We wanted our sister and brother's approval. We wanted our aunt and uncle's approval. And no one ever said you need to prove yourself. That
Mm,
was a new concept for all of us.
mm, mm. Absolutely, absolutely. And I believe that we are shifting into the new reality that is more spiritual reality. It's like
Yeah.
people are checking in with their emotions more. People are checking in with their, it's like, is this really what it is? Is this really as it seems to be? So people, I find that people don't take things for their face value anymore. And I'm very happy about that.
And that's important because we're beginning to know people on a much deeper level. I think
Mm,
this COVID-19 thing has brought us to that awareness.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. We've been kind of forced to connect with people that we
Right.
live with. Yeah, yeah. Or disconnect from people. So it's like either way, it's really showing something.
It really is. It's kind of
Mm,
amazing.
mm. It really, like, in my opinion, it allows people time to go inside and really see what is going on inside of us. And it's like, I find that this is the best time to create a long lasting positive change in your life.
I
Like,
agree.
use this time wisely and like really start thinking and looking at your life and see it's like what needs to shift for you to be happier and more satisfied and excited and loving person, because you know you live only once. And it's like it's real good time to re-evaluate what is missing in your life, what would you like more of. And once you identify that, you can completely create a roadmap to how to get what you want. How can you create what you want?
If you don't know what you want,
Yes, 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 absolutely. First thing is knowing what you want. And for me, like this has been like absolute treasure. I specialize in desires, you know, because I believe that our desires is our compass in life. When you know what you want, you can have it, you can create it, you can share that with people, and it's beautiful.
I agree.
Like, I'll give you an example. Like yesterday I was driving, and I'm driving my bike, and I see that my petrol, you know, my gas indicator starts flashing. I'm running out of gas. And in that moment I was like, oh my god, I need to manifest a gas station right now. And like as soon as I thought that, I was like, I just look on my left hand side, there is a gas station. I'm like, thank you universe. It's like, this is like
Right.
how this is how easy it can be. You know, it's like sometimes your desires can become true like immediately. You don't have to, there is no delay. It depends how clear your desire is, how clear your vibration is, how clear you can receive what you want in that moment. And my work is mainly is directed as at removing the obstacles from your desires, removing what gets in the way from your desires.
Right. Where you said you're originally from Latvia?
Yes. So I was born in Latvia in a small town in a Russian family. Like Latvia used to be occupied by Russia before. So I was born in a Russian family on a Latvian land, and I grew up there up until 20 years old, and then I moved to UK, to London, where I spent a good 14 years of my life, and until I was ready to go on the worldwide adventure, and that brings me to Bali right now.
Now, did your parents move with you to London, or did you do that on your own?
No, I did that on my own. My parents came to visit me maybe once in 10 years. Not maybe, once in 10 years. And actually, yeah, it has been Christmas time, and it was the last Christmas of my dad that we spent together. So it was very special times, really.
So your parents are still together.
No, no, my father passed away four
Yeah,
years ago. Yeah, but they were together, yeah, when that happened.
which is amazing when you told the story with about them. I didn't realize that they had stayed together for that.
Yeah. And you see, as a child, I was actually wishing that they would separate, because I just seen so much suffering that my, like both of them were going through so much suffering, but they were not strong enough to let go of each other, but just continue to hurt in each other. But it's also pressure of society that um, you have to be in a relationship, you have to be like, you know, married. And it's like, and people from my background, they stay together for like so many years when they actually hate in each other, because that there is a fear.
And
Yes,
that's
right.
so sad. I mean, my parents were together for 62 years. And in those 62 years, they were very much in love. They did everything together. So I thought, oh, I need to be married by a certain time because she got married when she was 23. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't because I didn't meet the love of my life. And I wasn't about to just settle in order to be married. But people do settle and say, okay, my mom, dad introduced me to this person. maybe I should be married to this person instead of, maybe not.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and so many do that. So many do that. Is just to tick the box. It's like, okay, I'm married now, so I'm like off the hook, kind of thing.
Right. And it's sad.
It's
Not
very sad.
something I said during this call, but
Mm.
it's just really sad that people get married because it's expected.
Right, right. And and through this work, I see so many sexless marriages, like, and emotionless. It's like people become like a roommates who don't even speak to each other very much. Not like talking about the intimacy. Like married couples sleep in a different bedrooms for years and years and years. Like I met somebody, they sleep in a different bedrooms for over 20 years. There is no emotional intimacy, but they're still married, and it's and
And
it's it's
how
sad
can that,
to see.
how can that be considered a marriage?
I don't honestly know, because I believe that intimacy is a glue of the romantic relationship. It's an
Right.
absolute it's an absolute glue of romantic relationship, and it's good for your health, it's good for your body, for your emotions, for your communication. It's like when you have this like loving experience with your loved one, you want to connect more. Like people have like a spring in that step, like going to work like all happy, people who they never spoke to before, like, hi, how you doing? It's like being friendly, because it really, really creates a big difference in people's lives. Such a big difference, but yet there is a lot of shame around it.
And I don't understand that because if you are married to someone you really love, why is there shame to have it, to being intimate with that person, having
Mm,
that intimacy?
mm. Because very often, for so many people, it's drilled into us that intimacy and lovemaking, it's something sinful, that is something dirty, and is something to be ashamed of. So, like I was mentioning before, first you create your beliefs, and then you look for evidence of those beliefs. So then you go and you develop this relationship with intimacy, that it's something dirty. So even when you get married, your beliefs about that don't change. It's like, no, 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 this is like something like, who do you think I am? Especially for women, it's like very a big problem. And I'm not afraid to say it's a problem for women to actually open their sexuality and sensuality to a man that they love, because that there is so much shame around it. There is shame around our body, there is a shame to be perceived to be a certain way, there is a shame of like, how can I express myself, there is a shame about receiving pleasure, there is like all kinds of things that get in the way of us actually experiencing the full experience of joy in our body, in our soul, in our emotions.
It makes me wonder what can we do to help women feel more settled and more relaxed in a
Mm.
relationship because
Mm.
it's important. Why, you know, okay, we're told don't do this, but if you feel that closeness, that feeling of intimacy, why should a woman not express it and enjoy it?
Mm.
and not just be, oh my gosh, I can't enjoy this. It's not allowed.
Mm. Well, the first step to that would be an awareness of like actually being aware of how you feel at any given time. It's like, what makes you feel this way? Just really become present, really become aware. It's like, oh, this doesn't feel good. Or it's like, oh, that there is like so many thoughts in my head. Or maybe I'm judging myself. Or maybe, I think that it's dirty and that's why I don't want to do this. Or maybe I feel that, he's dirty and it's like, and he's like some sort of, um, whatever. It's like really become aware what is happening, what thoughts are we having, how does our body feel. Because when you don't know and you just like kind of trying to like not to think, and something doesn't feel right, because main thing for pleasure is a relaxation. And if you're not relaxed, you can't experience pleasure in your body. So it's really paying attention to everything that gets in the way of your relaxation.
Because I know, people don't talk about sex now either. People are afraid. What happens if I say this? People won't like me. They'll think I'm a dirty old lady or a dirty old man. And that may not necessarily be the truth. But we're so caught in our heads that we don't express it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is why people are so scared to express their true desires, because it's such a vulnerable thing, and it's so easy to get shamed for it, that it's like you will tell somebody that how you want to be loved, and it's like, oh my god, but what if she gonna think that I'm a pervert? Oh, but what if he gonna think that I'm a dirty woman? And it's like all of this projections of our belief system, that it's like what is acceptable or not acceptable. Because many of us have grown up where, okay, my parents told me that I was found in the cabbage, and this is where I come from. So
And the Cabbage Patch story.
yeah, that the stork brought me and just left me in the cabbage, and then my mom and dad were like joyfully like skipping around the field, and they found me there.
But I remember when I first got my period, my mother had trouble telling me about it. And
Right.
there were neighbors behind me and behind us. And I was really late in the marriage. And the my friend Eileen Weinstein, her mom told me more about my period than my mom ever told me.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't something that she could discuss.
Right. And this is why, you see, it's like there is so much shame about like even being a woman and having like the most natural thing, like bleeding, like
Right.
your moon time. Like this is the most natural thing ever. Like getting pregnant, it's like, of course you have to have sex to get pregnant. It's like,
Yeah. So what's the big deal?
well, I'm in my opinion, this is way of control. This is way of control, because like, for example, in the olden days, the love making has been considered as a sacred union between man and a woman. And in fact, it was believed that it would bring fertility to the land. So it has been not only encouraged, it's been considered as it's sacred. It is something that does good not only for men and women, but for the whole land, for the whole environment. You know, so it's beautiful. But then when the church started like claiming the power and power over people, it's like, because when people are free self-expressed and like and in their power and unashamed, they can create anything. But you cannot control this kind of people. So when you're trying to build an empire based on control, it's easier to keep people in fear and instill shame into them, so that you can actually manipulate and direct people where do they want to go and like how to live their life, because people easily controlled when they are in fear and on their own. So this is why like even the education system is in a way that you have to do this by yourself. You have to like don't talk to each other during the lessons. You have to solve this problem yourself. So we've been taught the like independence, which is not independence. We've been taught that we cannot rely, we have to do things by ourselves, which essentially isolates us, that we cannot ask for help because it's considered to be a weakness. When in whole reality, it's like you're great at English, I'm great at arts, another one is great at something else. And it's like when we bring our skills all together, we can create something absolutely extraordinary. Right. But when I'm by myself and I'm trying to be great at everything, which I'm not, and I'm feeling like a loser because I haven't achieved some mark or grade in something that I never been great at. So it's like, the analogy I like to bring to that is like a zoo, and it's like one is monkey, one is a giraffe, one is fish, one is like crocodile, and they all been given a task to climb a tree. It's like, and this is what school essentially does, it's like we are all so unique, but then we all are given one same task to climb a tree. It's like monkey gonna do great. What about fish? What about
the elephant?
Right.
Can't do it. And I used to teach school, and I got into trouble because I didn't want to teach everyone the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It always got me into trouble, and it goes all through life.
Well, this is the thing. It's like we're all different and unique. And actually understanding our uniqueness and accepting our uniqueness is such a big deal, that there is nothing to be ashamed of. There is so much to be proud of. There's so much richness in that, and it's like understanding that when you think outside the box, when you think in a different way to other people, it doesn't mean that you're like less or more, or you're too much, or you're not enough. It just means that you're different, and it's okay to be different. It's like it's admirable to be different. And like this is what I do in my work. I actually open people up to their own brilliance, open people up to their own uniqueness and their own unique ways and desires and wants of what they want from life. That you don't have to fit in some like invisible mold or measurement, like a box that people trying to put you in.
Absolutely. We have been talking for a long time. It's going on an hour. I would love to do a little bit of a series with you and talk more about this, but not I think we could talk for hours. You
Oh,
could.
for sure. I love to talk.
So maybe we can think about it, but I really want to thank you for speaking with me tonight because it's been a really fascinating conversation. And hopefully we will have more. I also want to thank those who watched and were here watching through off and on. And thank you for coming and talking to me. You have
And
any words of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with?
sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and I love talking about my purpose and my passion. And in fact, my desire is to reach 5 million people with my message by the end of 2020. And I believe that your platform is really like supporting me in my vision. So it's like the as soon as I started like putting it more out there that this is what I want, universe started bringing me people and connecting me with people who supporting my message and who would love to actually share my message. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And also thanks to Rehan for connecting us. Very, very
He
grateful.
wasn't here for a little while. I don't know if he's still here, but he was
Mhm.
watching.
Sure. Well, thanks to him for connecting us. I'm really grateful. And before I leave, I'd love to say that no matter where you are in life, you always have a choice on how to respond to any circumstances. It's not the circumstances that are shaping your reality, it's your response to the circumstances. So perhaps it would be a good idea for you to stop and just check in with yourself. How do you feel? And what you would like to change. So that when you make the decision to change, believe me, your world will start to shift. And you can change absolutely anything as long as you truly, deeply wanted and you made that decision. And I know that because I'm living proof of that. And if you would love to know more, or if you would love to connect with my work, please connect with me online. I'm on Facebook. My name is Eugina O Liberty, just as it's on under my screen. So yeah, I'm sending you all lots of love and lots of connection. So stay blessed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Eugenia. This really has been a wonderful conversation. And I want to remind you that the Institute of Peace sponsored this, which is an online organization promoting peace, one conversation at a time. And with that, we're going to wave goodbye and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.